Afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well, and thank you so much for joining us today. I am Jam Tanweko, the admissions manager of Enduring Colleges, and I have the pleasure of being your host for today's talk. Jobs of the future, pursue a career that positively impacts the world. Sustainability has become a hot topic in the last decade as the call for greener and more sustainable business practices has grown louder. In fact, the call for sustainability has become so loud as global institutions like Enduring Colleges try to incorporate sustainability courses across business, hospitality, and even in architectural fields, while also being a pioneer in the country in offering sustainability management as a degree program. As a sustainability advocate myself, I do believe it's very important to not just be aware of the pressing environmental challenges we face, but to take to heart in taking care of the environment and put into action sustainable initiatives, especially in a business setting. As such, it's very important, especially for Generation Z, to be educated with the numerous opportunities that sustainability can offer. It is an interdisciplinary field, not just in environmental science, but also in business management, political science, and economics. Employers are always going to look out for something that sets one candidate apart from the others. A background that includes sustainability is definitely something that will help your resume stand out from many of your peers, especially as a fresh graduate. Given how many industries are trying to figure out ways to apply sustainable practices to their everyday operations, having several units invested in sustainability classes can help you build a resume that employers will find hard to pass up. With sustainability becoming a priority for many businesses worldwide, many experts are predicting an increase in demand for people with sustainability backgrounds who can also fill management and leadership roles. After all, not many managers will have a background in sustainability. As a result, these companies will be looking for leaders who can help keep the business profitable while keeping sustainability in the forefront. This can set you up nicely for potential management and other leadership roles in the future. In today's webinar, we aim to instill awareness and inspire our attendees, especially the younger generation, to be involved in careers related to sustainability management and highlighting one of the possible concentrations of sustainability, which is social entrepreneurship. Now, before we proceed, if you have any questions for our speakers or event organizers, you may scan the QR code that you can see on your screens or click on the Slido link, which you will see in the chat box. This will be used for the Q&A portion at the end of the program. Without further ado, let us welcome the co-founder and senior vice president of Enduring Colleges, Mr. Daniel Perez, for the opening remarks.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this afternoon as we explore opportunities and significance of pursuing a career that creates positive impact on people and planet. Today, more and more leaders and companies have begun to think sustainably, taking to heart the triple bottom line framework often referred to as the 3Ps: people, planet, profit. Sustainable management professionals can build some of the most prosperous triple bottom line companies in the world as they implement strategic programs that take care of community interests, respect the environment and resources, and produce profit without waste. However, the success and profitability of corporate sustainability initiatives really depend on one thing: talented individuals who know how to take the triple bottom line from theory to reality. Perhaps understanding that 90% of Generation Z have an innate drive to be part of the solution to combat social inequity, protect environment, and create economic opportunities should make us feel very hopeful about the future. As parents and educators, it is paramount for us to encourage this passion and provide an avenue where our children can equip themselves with the knowledge, skills to be successful in today's environment while creating positive impact in their world. We are lucky to have with us today Mr. Elac Diaz, a gentleman who has taken his business acumen, sustainability management expertise, and entrepreneurial skills to establish social enterprises and charitable organizations that have impacted the lives of millions of people around the world. Today's sessions will be moderated by Enduring's Director for Sustainability, Mr. Maki Maceda. He will help navigate today's discussion as Mr. Elac shares with us his experience, insights in the space, where we hope to answer some of the questions like, How do I identify companies that take sustainability to heart and where sustainability is not just a marketing slogan? How do you even start an NGO? Are there opportunities for me to pursue a career in charitable organizations? Will this allow me to find success and financial independence? Can I start a profitable business that takes to heart people and planet? Truly an exciting afternoon. I hope all of you enjoyed today's discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel Perez. Indeed, simply taking part in our talk today is one step towards a more sustainable future. Today, we are lucky to have our speaker. He will tackle social entrepreneurship and help the Gen Z be prepared in this kind of career. He is a social entrepreneur, professor at the Open Online Academy, and the founder and director of Litter of Light. He holds a master's degree in social entrepreneurship from the Asian Institute of Management, a master's degree in urban studies and planning from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and a master's degree in public administration from the Harvard Kennedy School. He is the first Filipino to win the Zayed Future Energy Prize, considered to be the Nobel Prize for Clean Energy in 2015. Our speaker's vision is to improve 1 million lives a year and to reframe the way people think about solutions to climate change, not as a product of industrialized nations, but as a gift that developing countries can share with the rest of the world. Now let us all welcome Mr. Elac Diaz.
The past business model has always been the minimum investment for the maximum gain. That means try to put in a small amount but to maximize it. But sometimes this has gone to extreme, and it's, so what about my employees? If I can take away their benefits, their security, to pay them as least as possible. So what about society? Just build the walls higher so that we don't think about all the poverty that exists out of the business walls. But the greatest damage of business thinking about this, minimum and maximum gain, is what about the environment, where what we do are products. So what about if it destroys the environment for many years to come, as long as we gain profits? And this has basically been a reflection on how the world is today, with so much poverty, with so much employees that are not getting their maximum benefits, or even women getting the same amount as men. But the most destructive of all is the rapidly declining environment around us. I would like to tell you my story about how Litter of Light has created a social enterprise to show that Filipinos are not just recipients of donations, but the dream that one day Filipinos can show the world that we too can be global humanitarians and give back. Litter of Light was born really in one of the most difficult of times. And this was during Typhoon Haiyan, the first category 5 that really opened my eyes to how the Filipinos were the least contributing to climate change, but the most vulnerable. What happened is within 24 hours, 10,000 lives were lost and more than 4 million houses were destroyed. One of the biggest problems really was for us to get light. There was a lot of women that were bringing food from the handout area, the aid area, into the camps. We also had problems with children inside the tents, where they were living with kerosene lamps, and as they were turning around, they would sometimes knock over the kerosene lamps and we would have third-degree burns. And so what we did was basically start focusing on how to give them solar lights, street lights, and mobile chargers. Most of these things would take about 5 months to bring in from India or from China, but we needed it now. And so one of the things we realized was solar lights was actually buildable by hand. And buildable by hand, I mean that with simple parts that anyone can build a solar light. So I'm going to show you a little bit here, where we would use electronic parts available anywhere in the country, so main cities. But at the same time, this would be able to build solar lights where they could be able to be distributed and built in scale. So instead of waiting 5 months, we could do it within months. We created a Gawad Kalinga, or Habitat for Humanity model, where we would provide the parts, but at the same time, the people, the companies, the people, or the volunteers or the schools would be able to build it. And we put a little bit of profit over it. And this one created an income stream where not only we were able to expand around Metro Manila, Cebu, and Davao, but we were also able to bring it to 32 countries around the world. By having philanthropy, you're always waiting for people to donate money. And this is why many of the Filipino organizations could not expand beyond a garage or a single room around a single room because of the amount of money that they had. They were always waiting for donations. I wanted to talk to you about a world record where I was able to get many young people to build solar lights at the same time. What we started to do was get thousands of young people to become involved. We used a digital format where basically we asked people to build solar lights, and sometimes we would get thousands of young people to build them at the same time, making a world record. This attracted Steven Spielberg of DreamWorks to be able to invite the Liter of Light to a documentary for 5 minutes. And of course, we're working on a project today, which is bringing the lights all around the world. I've been to Africa, lighting up the Maasai tribes, where we teach the Maasai women how to build solar lights by hand. So instead of them having to rely on imported, patented, and expensive solar lights from the Philippines, we teach them where to find their local, recycled plastic bottles, PVC pipes, but in the Maasai area, we can also do it out of bamboo and pottery. But the replicability has enabled us to light 7,000 Maasai homes as of today. We also teach them to make an income renting out street lights, where the houses along the streets would give almost 50 pesos, or about $1 every week, to keep the streets lit. And this has led to 70% of crimes against women who have to walk through those streets and bring food or money, because mostly the women are the ones that are making the business, to be able to bring them safely. Today, Liter of Light is actually in 32 countries. We have 1,400 youth members that bring these solar lights into the rural areas, as far as Chile and Brazil, where we go through the Amazon to light these houses. And at the same time, this business model, because we go to corporates where we are able to ask corporate volunteers to build solar lights, we transfer this to the women cooperatives that now rent it out. And so we have two business models, one that pays us, and then one where the women can maintain it and scale it. So from the idea of the world record, we had to survive during COVID. And when I said survive during COVID, that we had to find a way when no corporates were able to donate to us. And so what we did was we remembered about the Ice Bucket Challenge, where people were challenging each other how to, they throw water on each other and then they challenge each other. So we said, why don't we do this from the home? The reason why this was really important for us is because there are still 16 million Filipinos without light. And because of tourism dropping, many of those villages that used to rely a lot on kerosene lamps to be able to keep their homes lit or their villages lit run out of money to be able to keep on buying expensive kerosene. And this goes where you have to go down into the village or across the rivers or across the island, across the straits to be able to get kerosene. But now we're now donating solar lights to them. But of course, the task is huge. So Lighted Forward Challenge is the ice bucket challenge of this generation. Let me play to you the concept. Even in the midst of this pandemic, there are thousands of households and communities still being left in the dark. On behalf of the Liter of Light Foundation, we challenge you to be the spark and help us light 1,000 homes. And as we light it forward, together, we can all find our way through this darkness. As an entrepreneur, a social entrepreneur, you rely on people paying you to be able to have an office, professional staff. And by philanthropy or waiting for money or donations, this is often not possible. And so Filipino NGOs have not been able to scale internationally. We have because we realized that we can charge for the mission of doing good, and people would be able to scale by supporting us. And so through the COVID, we asked people, just like you get any kind of Grab delivery, to build these solar lights at home. And it became viral. More than 400 celebrities started building solar lights at home. And if you compute the number of fans or people that these influencers started calling to take the challenge, it was about 20 million Filipinos. So we started with only about 10 solar lights. It became 100, 400, and now we have about 4,000 people that have built solar lights by hand. Not every village we could give light away. So we started saying, why don't we build inspirational images? You can check out our progress through the lightedforward.ph. Today, it is awarded in Asia and at the same time Europe as the best viral campaign to make an impact. So we built out of each solar light built by one person inside their home, so it's IATF approved. We built the largest solar flag in the world. At the same time, this Earth Hour, we're very excited that we're going to be lighting up the top of the Makati City Hall. So you're the first ones to be able to see this, and we're very excited for you to be able to see how more than 2,000 residents of Makati, a lot of them from San Lorenzo and Urdaneta, with their parents, build solar lights by hand. So we'll be shutting it off. Of course, today it's open, but we will be shutting it off this evening. So what we're saying is, being a social entrepreneur, you could be able to use all kinds of challenges to be able to survive even in the worst pandemic. We never thought that the Philippines would be able to do 1 million, Liter of Light would be able to do 1 million houses a year. Sorry, 1 million, help 1 million lives a year. And today, we're very excited that one of you will be interested in the kind of jobs that we're doing, because as I said, an idea from the Philippines can change the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Diaz, for sharing your story with us. Just a reminder, if you have any questions for our speakers or event organizers, you may scan the QR code that you can see on your screens or click on the Slido link, which you can access in the chat box. Now, I would like to introduce our moderator. He is a sustainability professional with over 28 years of experience in corporate environmental affairs and sustainability management. He has been the sustainability director of Enderun Colleges since 2015 and a department head of co-founder of Enderun Sustainability Degree Program under Business Administration. He holds a master's degree in environmental engineering and science from Stanford University and a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from the University of the Philippines. He served as a sustainability consultant to Megaworld Corporation from 2010 to 2018, as a sustainability officer at Ayalan from 2008 to 2010, and as vice president for environmental affairs at the Phil Estate Group of Companies from 1997 to 2008. At present, he also serves as a sustainability expert under the United Nations Development Program for a project led by the Climate Change Commission. Let us welcome none other than Professor Maki Maceda.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jam, for that kind introduction. Pleasant afternoon to all of our attendees today, especially to all the young students out there, high school students, or maybe exploring your career options and what kind of careers you'd like to have. And that starts with getting the proper college degree. Also, welcome all the parents who are watching us today, and hope we can share these discussions and continue these discussions about social enterprise and environmental conservation at home with our kids. Because as the saying goes, we are only borrowing this planet from them, from the next generation. So they will have to be prepared for all kinds of future scenarios that we will encounter. And I'd like to thank especially ELAC. Thank you, ELAC, for sharing your time and a little knowledge with us today. I've always known you to be the champion of Liter of Light, but I did not realize the heights that you have achieved in the world, the scale of what you have achieved from such a simple idea. No, so thank you so much, ELAC. And perhaps maybe the two of us here kind of covers a lot of the career opportunities in sustainability. I come from the corporate world. I've been around the block. I've done a little bit of consulting work for some local governments and some national government agencies in the past. I find myself at home now in the academe, because for me, sustainability is teaching the next generation how to prepare and how to adapt to their coming world. On your side, you come from the social enterprise side, and instead of joining the corporate world, and that maybe that leads to my first question for you. You had the opportunity to be a successful businessman and be and have all the material wealth that you can reap from having such good business skills. If you had applied that to a for-profit enterprise, I'm sure you would have been a captain of industry. You would have been a head of a big corporation by now. Why did you not go that route? And what in your heart made you go to, simple serving the public good and doing good while doing business?
uh, Once again, it starts with the academe. Professors play such an important role in the career path of even public servants. When I say public servant, it's not just government, but also public, in the service of the public through social enterprise or NGOs. And the question that most got me, Maki, was uh, one day the professor said, we took a survey uh, of you know your ambitions for your career, and I find it very difficult to accept that almost 99% of the students here are studying really very hard to be able to be of service to the people who already live some of the highest standards in the country. So I want to design a better house for a wealthy client so that I can show how beautiful I can make it. Or I want to design better clothes for a socialite that already has a ton of clothes. So that issue really was in reflection to what society was happening to society, that that there was a 40% and rising poverty at that time. And so how can the best minds in the school, and of course reflective on other schools, all want to make the lives of the 10% richest even more more luxurious. So that hit upon me a nerve, and I said, how would it be possible if uh, a career could be to be successful, but the new definition is to bring as many people with you in your success. And so that is when social price enterprise really, I was able to really get enchanted by it. Could I do work where I would not be begging for money? And this is very difficult for somebody to ask money to do good. So can I come up with business models that enhance both careers, which is for me to help as many people as possible, but I wanted also a very global career. Can a Filipino, which are largely regarded as always asking for help and asking for money during disasters, can we show the world also that we can also give the world back and be able to help the world, instead of the popular notion that we're always begging for money, or we're the highest in the world for asking for donations, for bilateral funds. When at what point does the receiver always start giving back? No, so I wanted something where we were not seen as beggars.
Nice. And you started your presentation by saying that you were there at ground zero in Leyte, seeing the devastation of Typhoon Haiyan, no? So, and I see that your life has been filled with experiences that goes back to the academe you mentioned, where your professors had profound impacts on you and your thinking at that time. If we were to go back to your childhood, what can you share with us? What did you learn from your childhood experiences with nature, or perhaps at home from your parents? What values did you really take to heart that you think served as the foundation for your choice of going into this type of career?
I think profound influence, of course, goes back to the parents. Did not subdivide me. We live in Pasay, where there's a mixed income. That means you could have your house, but next to you, 100 meters away would be shanty areas. And I would not always be able to go to my friends in Makati. But my parents never told me that there was a division between me and, let's say, the low-income families at the corner of the street. So I grew up going out of the gate and becoming friends with them. I would play basketball. The tumbong preso. I thought that it was all natural because there was, they never told me don't go out, don't. But the point of the story was when people tell me, where did you get your technical skills? Was it Tesla? Was it, it's not true. I thought it was a game to go to their parents that was fixing engines, like the mechanical. So today, I know how to tear apart engines and then put it back. Some of my friends would do, let's say, furniture, upholstery. Not all of them would be playing games out into the street, but they would be, working for their parents as apprenticeships. So I would think of it as a way to spend my time to actually learn how to do it. And the fathers, they took me on as as one of their apprenticeship. So I would learn all these manual skills, even the torno shop. So today, even when I went into MIT and they saw that I had this technical innovation to be able to build stuff, that's how I was able to get the scholarship. So when they asked me like, what is the best teachers that I've had, and it would be the parents at the corner of my house that had businesses that had to do with with working with manual skills, something that has changed my life today. The reason also why that was possible is because the generosity of my parents. My parents, whenever they would run out of water, they would put the hose out into the, they put it outside of the gate with a spigot. And whenever they needed water, clean water, they would be able to access it. I remember that, we would give gifts, of toys. But one time, my father even put a refrigerator out of the house, and he said, there's so much food being wasted here because we can't eat it. So he would just keep the refrigerator outside, with a clear glass, and put food there, and people would just pick the food there. And so I realized how much waste a family, or a regular family, the middle income family, had. And so it shouldn't be separated by walls. So this one started me realizing, as I was becoming, going in school and getting more technical skills, why can't I invent inventions that would be able to help them, like, bicycle washing machines. I was trying to reduce it by installing my first windmill. So all of the ideas that I had, I would test it over there. Rainwater catchment system with electrolysis, so that no molds would grow on the in the water and they wouldn't get sick. All these innovations and more was to make sure that my friends that I grew up with would be able to enjoy the same same kind of basic access that I had, even though I had to create these inventions.
That's awesome, Ilak. Recounting your childhood experiences resonated so much with me. I didn't grow up in a place like Pasay City. I grew up in my grandma's house in Quezon City, a big compound. But right outside the wall was a big barangay with the not so fortunate citizens there. And we played tumbang preso and pico, and we were exposed, no? As far as values, I also saw that charity begins at home, seeing how my mom would send relief goods to every time there'd be a typhoon. So I think it's important that our children also be exposed, no, to the realities out there, and not be cocooned in our houses now and forever looking at their mobile devices, diba?
Yeah.
There's it. I think it starts at a very young age where you get exposed to the real world, and that inspires you to come up with solutions to real world problems. You
Actually,
also,
one of
yeah.
my professors is online.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah, Miss Meldegia, where I was rebelling against having to go to ROTC, and I said, "Can't I use my time with public service?" And she said, "Well, I are you willing to learn sign language to be able to tutor, children in Southeast Asian Institute for the Deaf instead of military?" And yeah, till today, I do know how to sign language and tutor, which has helped me in many ways. So yes, another professor. The professors actually have formed such a deep mark on my life to choose a career of service. Mrs. De Gia, and I call her Mrs. De Gia because she's my professor, was always telling that public service is not one of poverty, like one minus one is zero, the poorer you become. it is by giving that you become richer. And I did not know from that lesson that by giving, I actually would travel the world. I would actually study in the best schools in the world. And today, that I would have such a fulfilling career. And so yes, I'd like to thank Mrs. De Gia that is online today. That your words and you pulling me out from the ROTC and helping me realize that I could learn sign language and I could tutor for the next 3 years, that deaf and mute. You showed me the possibilities.
May I read to you, Ilak, Mrs. De Gia's comment to you on the chat box. I personally witnessed Ilak having a heart for the disadvantaged and PWDs when he volunteered to tutor deaf students back in high school and going out of his way to donate books to the school for the deaf even after he graduated from high school. Thank you, Mrs. De Gia, for the warm words also. And now, talking about professors and how they had an impact on your life, let me try to insert a question or two from some of our professors at Enderan. As our audience knows, we are a business school and we have a good college of entrepreneurship at Enderan. I know many students in Enderan who are NTREP majors. So I'd like to ask Ilak on behalf of the NTREP department, Professor Ray Estrada and Sir Aries Chan. A couple of questions from them. One is acknowledging that sustainability entails the use of resources. Can an entrepreneur with a startup with minimal or limited resources put sustainability at the forefront of his priorities and still manage to be competitive?
It is avoiding the inevitable that by having a business without any kind of sustainability or trying to put in or put back, if you would want to call in the threshold of nature, the fact that you have to give back to the bank. You have to make sure that there is no business that could survive without nature. Just because your balance sheet does not reflect the polluting of the river, that river will eventually become so undrinkable or unusable that future generations might not be able to benefit from it. Now, think about this in a larger context. If every business did not have sustainability in it, or a portion of it that would at least make its existence not damaging for future races. In the end, how can a business survive in a planet that is not sustainable? So it is not that if you can afford it or not. It's the fact that how long before all of us will not be able to have even basic access to water, clean, and even the food that we eat is now so toxic. So you just have to look at some places in other countries where they have to leave the land area to travel to some area that is more that has more a sustainable equilibrium. So yes, every business must have a way to give back, because if you don't do it, uh, some other person or some other business has to take over your share. It's not like that it is not something that you can throw into the water and never see again. It's just, and even in society, if you don't do your share, it makes it more difficult, or some other person has to take your burden to be able to make life livable and society more balanced, more educated, healthier. One day, of course, without thinking about it, there's no way that this equilibrium that is not balanced will not be payback. No, so yeah, there will be a point where even now with the COVID situation, there's only so much that you can infringe upon nature and open up these kind of potentials for nature to show you that in fact you protect nature, because nature can do without you. If we all died today, nature will go on. It's just we are protecting ourselves from actually going extinct or getting damages of it. So every
Uh,
business should have a model.
So many words of wisdom there, and that very nice, comprehensive answer. Uh, I can see a lot of questions coming in now on our Slido app. I'll be switching back and forth with these questions. Let me relate to you a very interesting question here. If given another chance to create another business, with which existing worldwide problem would you want to give a solution to? Ah,
Yeah. So one of my first career uh, 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 projects was really housing. So I built what is called the Pier 1 Seafarer Center because I was so taken aback by people sleeping in Luneta. So I asked them, like, why are you here? And I found out that they were seafarers. And the seafarers were there because they're waiting for their paper, and sometimes it took almost 2 weeks. And so they would spend about 100 pesos a day traveling, eating, waiting. And then so I said, look, for $1, for 50 pesos, I'm going to open up a dormitory where you could stay. And so I saw the beauty of that because, it turned out to be a 2,000 man dormitory before I decided to sell that business operations. So housing is something that I dreamed of. So the last part of my careers, the last years, I've been trying to think of what during climate change, what will be the next alteration with, let's say, 300 kilometers per hour, the same, speeds that it takes to fly an airplane. Uh, what kinds of housing models do we have to shift into, especially in the rural areas? How about flooding in the city where, the first floor of your building would get flooded for 2 weeks at a time in cycles? So all of those are things that interest me. If Haiyan, 4 million houses can be destroyed immediately, you can't build it out of cement, steel, and glass. So I really am thinking about the climate resiliency of our architecture and what will be the sustainability for the city that will run out of water, that will run out of food during these kind of cycles when climate becomes thicker. I mean, WWF just says that, my own house will sink in about 50 years. So, Pasay will sink. So, I mean, you're talking about a massive, massive migration. And so these are the things that I'm very interested in creating because people are thinking about now about the land, land development in those areas. But I'm thinking about what in 50 years if climate change is not altered or stopped.
well, thank you for bringing that up, Ilak. As a sustainability professional, one of the negative things I see about this pandemic is that the conversation on climate change is set to the side. You know, uh, ironically, climate change is perhaps one of the reasons for the pandemic. With forests burning and wildlife getting, cramped out of their natural habitats and encroaching more on human populations, we're seeing a lot of these new so-called zoonotic diseases.
Even
But you,
even from the ice, there's things that have been there for so many years that are coming out
correct.
again. So we
Yes.
don't know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But I like the way you expose our youth here listening today to have a long-term view. Now, you talk about your house in threat of sinking in 50 years. We won't be here anymore in like in 50 years, but the ones listening here today, they will. So how do they prepare
You
for
know,
that?
Professor, I was just thinking, like, I have a reflection. I have cousins that graduated high school, and I said, I enjoyed the best moments of my time graduating from college. I disappeared from my house for 2 weeks. Not that you should do it, but I traveled all around the Philippines backpacking, going out with my friends. And here we are having graduations that we're not even together. I mean, we won't be here 50 years, but I don't think it's fair that this generation gets to suffer the short-sightedness of past generation and my generation, because these are all caused by decisions of these two generations and more, and they have to suffer children being apart. These are sufferings of our generation that we put upon them. So yes, we won't be alive in 50 years, but sometimes the conscience of realizing that we're not changing things fast enough for the next generation not to pay for the short-sightedness of our generation, I think it's really unfair.
Exactly. Let me turn the floor now to one of my students who's taking our sustainability management program at Enderan. Give her a chance to ask a question after everything she's heard today. Let's bring on Lexi Anusavicius. Lexi, are you here?
Hi, good afternoon.
There you are.
So my name is Lexi and I am a third year student at Enderan Colleges, majoring in sustainability management. Um, and so far, listening to your entire experience, starting up this social enterprise, I actually have one question that I would like to ask you on behalf of students who are also interested in starting their own social enterprise one day. And what would you say are like the current biggest opportunities on the market for us and the challenges that come with it? And what career advice can you share with us, since you seem like you've traveled the world, you've had so many different experiences, and I'm just genuinely curious to hear your insights and what advice you can give the younger generation who are very much interested in going into this career path.
I'm old school. To be able to solve these kind of social inequalities, I do two things. One is called the serendipity walk, and it says that if you're not exposed or you're not walking among the problem, you will never be able to figure it out from a distance, or your life and the stimulus and the things around you cannot completely understand the dynamic problems of what happens that causes this. There's many layers to it, and so one of the things that I do is, I walk through the area, and it's from there, talking with people, that I get the first synopsis or the first hypothesis of what could be the potential solution. The second one is I live among them, so I really spend like 2 weeks. As I said, I'm old school, which is I really have to see, when the days go by, when the interview stops, and you just follow them to the water, follow them to the river, see if they get sick, follow them to the hospital. It's only then that you will be able to start seeing how things are related. For example, the solar lights. How does one small company foundation get to fix 350 women cooperative areas with the parts and the relationships? Well, I found out that their husbands go to the wet market here in Manila twice a month, and so they bring all the vegetables and then they dump it down. But then later on, they go back with empty crates back to the villages, and so everything that the women need to repair the solar lights or to maintain the street lights, they come all from the husband. So I go to the wet market, wrap whatever the order is, and they go back. So I don't have to go back to the villages. So I wouldn't know how to do it with the internet kind of thing, but you really have to be among them. And I think one of the biggest the biggest problems really is the fact that we have unemployed. We have tourism, so a lot of places that grew up with money like flowing with tourists are now not enjoying the same thing. So lights are going off villages. There's malnutrition happening. But one of the things that I'm doing here today with the top of the city hall is just the fact that there's so many young people that there's a growing depression rate among young people inside houses. They're stuck there. They feel disjointed, disattached. So I wanted them to all come together, and so that's why I put the Light It Forward challenge together. So yeah, there are so many things with COVID that I can't even begin to understand how to do it. But I only know the old ways, which is without being among them, you can never come up with a solution that's long lasting and sustainable. You could do a temporary relief, but you have to do the studies.
So your piece of advice is to really immerse ourselves in, put ourselves into their shoes, and the best way to really figure out what they need is to empathize with them, right? Sympathize and empathize, and
We see a lot of donations, people taking pictures of giving food, but when you
right.
talk about long-term poverty, you're talking about a 10, 15-year, 20-year solution or climb out of it. So people only take snapshots of bellies getting filled, but if you're really a social enterprise, you should be able to think about 10, 15-year operations. So that's why it's so difficult to do that rather than a philanthropy or a photo, a selfie. That's the difference.
Well,
Thank
thank you so much for sharing your personal insights and for answering my question. And I really respect everything you do, and I hope you keep it up.
I'm so small. there's there's needed an army of social entrepreneurs. Believe me, the more you go out there, the more your whole role is just to inspire others, so that you can create an army. One person will never be able to make the difference. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you so much for asking that wonderful question, Lexi, and thank you for the heartfelt response, Ilak. To our listeners there, our viewers here, this is a call for more champions. There's nothing better than having a career with a purpose. You could have a career that will take you to wealth and fame and fortune, but if that does not have a sense of purpose deep inside you, diba? It's not gonna feel it's gonna feel hollow and empty. So here in a career like this, obviously where you're helping lives, you have a career with a purpose. And as Ilak put it, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, but you teach him how to fish, then you feed him for a lifetime. So it's having that
Well,
long.
actually, the whole point of social enterprise is you just change the whole fishing industry. That you should
Yeah.
change the whole industry.
And what Ilak means there also is to think out of the box. There are all these problems that need creative and innovative solutions. Another thing we realize from this Liter of Light enterprise of yours, Ilak, is that still a lot of Filipinos do not have access to electricity. So that's something that perhaps is an eye opener to many of our participants here. And as Ilak says, until you've been there. So you've been there, right, Ilak, in those dark villages, coastal villages. Can you tell us more about your experiences there that really made you decide to pursue your project with utmost fervor?
So yes, we're now in 32 countries. In the Philippines itself, the islands, there's 13 million of people without access to light. I can't even maybe double that of people that cannot pay for electricity, including me. So that's why I had to put solar throughout my whole house, and but yeah, the shortages of resources is causing more and more people to pay more and more for simple access to power and access to water, access to sanitation. So there will be a point that our houses will become so small because we can't even afford the basics. So even people with earning capacity is starting to see how these shortages are minimizing the space that we live in, and the resources that we have. But yes, so many of the islands that we go to are rich with women that are weaving, that are building stuff, that are carving. And so I really realized that unless we teach them how to be able to weave together solar lights, they would always be dependent on imported, patented, expensive. They buy a solar light, they go into debt, and those lights are supposed to break in about a year's time, so that they buy again. The the business model is for solar or access to solar, and that's why people keep on looping in, is the fact that they're supposed to break, or else there's no business for importing it again. And that's why I wanted to use local parts, local knowledge. And in fact, I wanted to talk about, that there will not be a solution to this kind of energy poverty if there's one person like me that says, oh, if you buy from me, I'll be able to solve world energy poverty. That's a lie. Actually, you have to put it in millions of hands. And my dream, to tell you the truth, Maki, is that you don't need me anymore. Actually, I don't want, you don't want to be in the middle of this unless you have a factory that always, that always spews out these lights that it's going to break every year, because that's not actually the solution. The solution is that they don't need you, that they can make it with local parts, and one day they'll stop calling you because there's enough women cooperatives building it from scratch and buying it from buying it from markets. Solar panels are now ubiquitous. We use LEDs from motorcycles, but yes, poverty is cyclic. So there's people without lights, and there are people that after 1 year lose those lights because most solar is built to break down and it to be imported. So I wanted the money to stop going out of the country and more people building it with their hands, or else we'll always be dependent. But what's interesting is how an idea from the Philippines also reflects upon the South-South model, which is there are other people with the same kind of problems and with the same kind of solutions. So that's why I started building it in Malaysia. I started building it in Bangladesh. But it's such a thrill because it feels adventurous. Last year, we did a ship we were invited to go around the world in 100 days to 19 countries and teach, 19 countries. So we did 100 days around the world with one ship. And so it's really, even a trip across America by camper van, because people want to know how to do this. And so I never thought that an idea from the Philippines would be so valuable until you realize that many people want to be able to be independent and not just buy products. So yeah, it's one of the most exciting careers in the world, social enterprise. And yeah, it's not one of poverty where where your parents will be embarrassed. The Zayed Future Energy Award was given to me by Al Gore. So Al Gore himself gave me the prize. And so I'm looking at this and I'm saying, here's a first world vice, presidential candidate. If you giving me a prize, and I'm from the islands in the Philippines. So, I wouldn't have even experienced that without trying this career. So yeah, and the Philippines still has so much to do.
These are so inspiring to hear, Ilak. No, I think that based on the questions from the audience, a lot of the students are now being inspired. Before we go on to the next few questions, Ilak, is for those who really got inspired, how do they contact you?
So I'm a millennial. No, I'm a millennium. But the millennials use Instagram. So please go to Litter of Light, where you'll see hundreds and hundreds of people building solar lights by hand to help me. Please, if you want to be part of it and order it, or you want to build solar lights and help me, I'm building the SDG goals, but I'll be building the 17 SG goals around Makati. So San Lorenzo will have one, Urdaneta. So I'm looking for parks around the Metro Manila to build the largest tribute to the 75th anniversary of the United Nations, which the Philippines is one of the signatories when it started. Wow. So while everybody's trapped at home, I'm trying to get all the lights from inside the home and build it into the largest solar artwork in the world. But of course, my mission really is later on to give those lights to the villages that I work with. So yes, please reach me at Litter of Light on Instagram, or of course, Ilak Diaz at my Instagram. And you'll also see my house, which is built in solar, and my Volkswagen van, which runs completely on solar. So yes, I have a sustainable tiny mobile home, and so you'll be able to see a little bit of what I do. So write to us, write to us. We love reaching out to people.
Thank you. I can see a question here in Slido from a parent. So perhaps this would be appropriate to ask this now. How can parents help foster the right mindset and heart that would help our children lean more towards choosing purpose driven careers?
Well, you talked about nature, no? There is no pictogram or there's no photo that will make a child closer to nature. The only way to do that is to bring your child in nature, to explain to him about why, how food is grown, how oxygen is done. I mean, there's no way. So I noticed with two things about young people. One is if you keep on telling them, go to rock concerts and hear this inspiring talk without actually exposing them, they actually get jaded because after this inspiring talk, then they feel that so energized, but there's no action behind it. We have a lot of young people that are jaded. They, yeah, everybody tells me that I will change the world, but you must be able to expose them to people who actually do stuff. There's people in the food industries that do hydroponics. You have to get from that enthusiasm into action. If you keep on building them up and then having no action and then trying it again, these children become jaded. You have to expose them to people who have these activities, going online, saying, going listening to speeches. It's great, but the only thing that I have to tell you is, no action is no commitment. That's basically what I want to tell you. Is if you do not put them in an action or make them volunteer, or participate or be employed, or I mean, without any action that comes with it, these children will never be committed to the cause because they've never seen it.
So you're talking about that sense of civic duty, no, that a lot of our youth are not exposed to, di ba?
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for that, Ilak. I think that also kind of answers a lot of questions here on the Slido. Um, One last round from the audience. If you'd like to ask Ilak any specific questions, here's one, Ilak, at the start of Slido. How can startups like food stalls or any other business that students can easily open integrate sustainability in their daily operations?
Well, that's funny because, well, not funny. I just want to tell you my personal story with, food stalls. Now, uh, I love Volkswagens. Ever since, I grew up putting together Volkswagens with, my friends. Eric, his name's Eric. His dad used to fix Volkswagens. And so I learned how to do it because I thought it was a game till I realized that it was a business. Uh, so from then on, I restored Volkswagens. Anyway, back to the main story. I'm going around Metro Manila, and of course, I go a lot into this, urban, or a little bit urban poor, and I see people like making pagpag. And for those of you that don't know pagpag, it's after the restaurant, or this time a fast food, they throw out the food and they throw it at the back. And there's some meat, some things that you throw away, so they make it pagpag, so that the dirt goes out and they eat it. And so uh, food is not my business. It's not a social business, but you never run out of ideas to do something. So I'm modifying a Volkswagen so that it becomes a food truck. And then I'm talking to my friends in the supermarket, and I find out that there's so much food being thrown away because it's expired. But the only thing you have to do is you have to burn it to be able to cook it. So they said you can't give it, but if you cook it, then you can give it. So right now, I'm making a food truck to get food, and I'm inviting the chefs to be able to cook it. and then give it. So yeah, I'm for the first time I'm creating a food truck, but the whole idea is that I can use the food truck to PR the supermarket so that they can give me all the food stuff that they're throwing away, so I can cook it and I can give it. So as I said, the social entrepreneur mindset is so flexible. But what's interesting is you are using your business skill to create a sustainable way to help people. uh, the reason why social enterprise is so interesting is, like me, I started out with a little sari-sari operation, but now I employ 220 people around the world. So you have to understand that with income creates the power to be spoiled. You can throw as much luxury, but there's only a limit. How many cars can you have? How many, how much can you throw on yourself before you start realizing that that's not exactly the life that that you want to live. I wanted a life that I lived well, but at the same time I help a lot of people. It is such a great feeling. And so the food truck is my way of trying to feed a lot of people, but at the same time, making sure that it grows. I'll start with one and maybe two and three. If I can give a quote before I close this, I close this answer. And it's another professor, and I've been blessed with great professors. And at that time, there's no such thing as a sustainability course. So you guys are so lucky. I had to look for these professors. And so here you have somebody, I had to look for mentors. I had to ask them if I can have a coffee, if I could learn from them. But here you are having Zoom calls with, people that look for the mentors for you, which we never had. So there's
Right.
all the reason to become really good. Anyway, this one that took me a long time to be able to meet, uh, he once said, never turn your back on things that bother you, because things that bother you have a solution. It's just there hasn't been enough money and time and skills put to that. Remember, I was saying how 90% of the young students want to help the 10% richest in society. It's
Mhm.
just there's not enough time and brain power put to look for problems of society and make it sustainable. But there is. It's not that it isn't. It's just, it's just we haven't created enough case studies, especially in the Philippines. So never turn your back on things that bother you, because if you can find a way to make a difference, you can change the world.
Nice. And I like that you're now looking into food waste and the food security issues, no? After your energy poverty social enterprise has now been established with hundreds of employees around the world. Sir Ilak, dear young students out there, is now focusing on food waste. And you can see here that it's really the basics, no? The basic. What do we need to survive? We need food. We need
Actually,
energy.
there's so much waste. I build buildings out of plastic bottles.
Right.
The richest people in America are actually people that collect scraps of metal. Just the amount of waste is so alarming that it's just you could build a whole social enterprise just on waste, recycling paper, get from plastics into diesel. There's so much stuff because there's so much waste.
That's
uh, we have
exactly.
we have a comment from Banana. I mean, my friend
Yeah.
does sanitary pads from bananas. I mean,
Oh,
it's so big, her business, that that people are shifting into uh, pads made from banana fiber. So yeah, there's so much that can be done.
that addresses the question there from one of our students at Enron, Lara. So maybe you could reach out through Instagram to Sir Ilak, and maybe he could hook you up with his friend who knows about the supply chain in the banana industry.
I want you to look so at I'm the Philippine representative to the World Expo. So the king, the sheik, if you want to call it, uh, asked for 140 solutions that can change the world. And so
Wow.
7,000 entries applied for the Expo Live. So Expo Live means live change makers. And so out of 7,000, I'm your Philippine representative. So if you go to Expo Live here at the Expo website, you have some of the most brilliant minds. So from 7,000, we're just 140, and we have our own booth at the World Expo with 25 million people coming through the booth. And that's why it's so important you support this Light It Forward. It's because that's what I'm presenting to the in the World Expo. But yes, doesn't mean that you have to look at mine, but please look at the World Expo change makers because these are some of the best guys in the world and the most inspirational for me. And that the banana for the pads, the sanitary pads from Banana is just one of the 140 of the best in the world. So if you guys are a social enterprise, please look at the Expo Live and see change makers such as me. Go through it. You'll be surprised just how many social entrepreneurs are doing.
Nice. You guys are changing the world. Let me share a quick story about one of my mentors in the corporate world. He hired me to become sustainability officer of Ayala Land in 2008. His name is Sir Jim Ayala, not related to the Zobel de Ayala brothers. But Sir Jim, after a long career, first in consulting and then in the corporate world, CEO of Ayala Land, he chose to switch to social entrepreneurship and actually received the Ernst & Young Social Entrepreneur of the Year award back then. And his business model was solar lanterns for the fisher folk in the non-electrified areas of the Philippines. And I asked him then, Sir Jim, why did you, after you've had it all in the corporate world, the CEO and all the perks and everything, and why did you switch to a career in social entrep? And he said, you know, what do we really need in life? You know, he said, we can have dinner once in a while, watch a movie once in a while. This is back then, right? We don't really need much in life, no? So if you have an opportunity to give back, do it because that will fill your heart with a sense of purpose and fulfillment. So I think we're seeing that a lot in ELAC. You can see also that, at least I can see, we diverged in terms of career paths. I was more in the corporate world, which I thought also would generate good impact in terms of influencing the big CEOs of the largest conglomerates to go green and become more sustainable. You did it on the grassroots level on your own. You started something. But everything we talked about today resonated with me. Your childhood experiences growing up, your philosophies in life, learning from our mentors and seeking them out. These are the things I try to teach our students too. Don't be afraid, you know. Reach out. You never know who's going to respond back to you and take an interest and guide you on your journey. So we thank you so much, ELAC. This has been such a lively and meaningful conversation. Unfortunately, as all good things, we must end. We're over time now. Before I wrap it up, let me give the floor back to you, ELAC, to in your final words, your final message after everything we talked about, and what would you like to leave with our kids and their parents who are watching us today?
So the world is very simple in the sense that there are a few rules, which is if you don't show up, you never know who you're going to meet. So when you have an appointment, if you have a mentor that you want to meet, go out and reach for them, because you never know when one conversation is going to change your life. And the second for me is, of course, you have to go to a good school with good professors. Because if the professors are there just for the employment and they don't inspire you, then it's not the place to be. But if you find a place where your career and your vision match, even though you don't think that it's you can do it, like one thing with my introduction is, when they said Harvard and MIT, nobody ever tells you that it took me 3 tries to get into Harvard. It took me 4 times. It took me almost 6 years to be able to go to my grad school, and that's because I was waiting for scholarships. And of course, that sometimes they didn't understand what I was doing. But nothing that's worthwhile is ever easy. If you never go, you'll never know. It's very easy. If you never try this, you will never know if it was for you. So go out there, try it, because sometimes, as I said, I've lived a very fulfilling life. I've gone to the best schools in the world. I've traveled to 130 countries around the world, and some of it, I would just go to, I would write for magazines, hoping that they would travel. I would hitchhike across, places because I have not enough money. But you have to go out there and find it, because if you don't know, uh, sometimes that one person can change the world for you. And listen to your parents. Many times I didn't listen to my parents, and sometimes I had a longer way around. So sometimes listening to people smarter than you is also helps you. But uh, I don't envy this time of COVID. I'm a very people person, and I believe that destiny is showing up in places and learning new careers. And I mean, attending seminars and talking to people. But if you want, there are mentors out here that can answer some of your questions. Not everything, but we can show you that there are fantastic lives out there in the social enterprise, and very fulfilling. So please ask us, and hopefully we can inspire you to to wait it out, and then maybe there's something big out there. Be patient. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ilak. Ilak is a shining example of a quote that I always share with my students. Success and sustainability is not about being the best in the world. Success and sustainability is about being the best for the world. Yeah. Thank you, Ilak, for shining on us some of your knowledge. Your We can see that it came from the heart. It was a very heartwarming conversation. I know we inspired a lot of young students today. And we thank you once again for sharing your time, your
Oh,
expertise with. Go
there
ahead.
there is a payment to this. Please
Oh,
please add yourself to Instagram, Litter of Light,
okay.
because
Yeah,
that's,
right.
you know 60% of Philippine NGOs only for donated has collapsed during COVID. So we're one of the few surviving 40%. So please sponsor your local Filipino NGO. We'll be posting, sorry, selfless, but hey, that's the important part of social enterprise, is to market yourself.
Of course. Yeah.
So Litter of Light, add yourself, Instagram.
All right. And speaking of light, Ilak, let's also share with them that tonight is Earth Hour. What do you have in store for tonight, Ilak?
We are. Let me show you quickly. We're doing. We're sorry. Oops. We're lighting the top of City Hall with thousands of solar lights made by hand.
Wow.
And so I'm actually on top of City Hall right now. Imagine
Are you
I'm
on?
yeah, I'm where the mayor should be.
Oh,
So
really? We thought you were in a condo somewhere. You're in City
so
Hall.
yeah, it brings you to very strange places. So yeah, basically I made the mayor make solar lights and the councilors, and now I'm lighting up the top of City Hall. There's Pasig right there.
And we can watch what's going on through your Liter of Light IG account, right? Tonight.
Yeah. So this is the image. It's the SDG goals on top of the helipad. So above me is the helipad. So we're gonna light that up tonight for
Very
Earth
nice.
Hour.
I can see on the map the Philippines is right in the middle of the
Ah,
map of the world.
that's pretty good. You saw that, right? So
I saw
so
that.
instead of, Africa or United States being, I'm always proud that the Philippines should be in the center of the world.
Oh, nice.
Ang
Right.
bilis,
So,
ang bilis. I admire you. You got it. Subliminal.
yeah. So for the students out there who were asking on the chat box or Slido, what can we do during this time of pandemic? We are all trapped in our homes. This is one thing you can do: observe and participate. Attend Earth Hour tonight, 8:30 to 9:30. Switch off your lights. Spread the word. Spread the message. Try to engage all your friends, your relatives to do the same. This will be a new Earth Hour because in the time of the pandemic, we're not able to celebrate it the usual way with festivities. So let's participate, and don't limit it to 1 hour tonight. Make Earth Hour, make every hour Earth Hour. That's where it all starts. Having a career where you want to help make a difference in the world, then you have to do your share also, whether it's being energy efficient at home, efficient with your water usage, especially now it's summer. It's going to be so much hotter now.
Yeah.
Being careful
and
with
have
the,
and have fun and have fun. Some of the most serious people that don't have fun, they burn out early. This is a long-term career, so have fun.
there you go. So thank you once again, my good friend, and I feel like my cosmic brother somehow. I think you're my brother from another mother. Thank you, Ilak, for your time and your experiences, sharing your experiences with us, and most of all for inspiring our young ones viewing us today. Thank you
Sorry.
so
Ganun pala. Sorry, millennial.
much. Thank you. Millennium.
Bye everyone. Bye everyone.
Let me turn you back over to Miss Jam for some final words. Thank you, everyone.
All right, that's a wrap. I didn't even notice the time, honestly, that passed by. What an insightful discussion we just had. Now, thank you very much for the wonderful questions from our audience and professors. And of course, thank you, Mr. Ilac Diaz and Professor Maki Maceda, for all of your insights. And I agree with both of them. Back then in my time, I've also grown up being aware of a lot of environmental challenges, but never really had the chance to get out to know about the possible career opportunities on sustainability like this one. So for our attendees, whatever age may be, we should all take this as a lesson to incorporate sustainable initiatives, however small they may seem to be, from making eco bricks, donating your plastics, to changing sustainable packaging of products being sold online, and even using renewable energy, of course. Now that's it for today. We would like to thank each and every one of you who joined us for today's talk. And at the end of the event, you will be receiving an email from us with our post-evaluation form. Once this is completed, you will receive your e-certificate for attending this event. Now, to keep you updated with our latest news and future events, you may join our Telegram and Viber group and visit Enderun College's websites, which are posted right on your screen. Now, once again, I'm Jam Tanweko, and if you have any questions regarding Enderun, you may also message me in jam@enderun in Facebook or email us at admissions@enderuncolleges.com. We hope everyone had a great time, and don't forget about the Earth Hour later tonight. Stay safe and healthy. Goodbye.